So with pleasure and anticipation, I would like to introduce the emerging voices who will share their experience and recommendations for going forward. To introduce them, I would like to welcome Dr. Xin Yi from China and a PhD candidate with the West China Center for Rural Health Development. She wishes to be heard. Then there will be Dr. Kopano Mabaso from South Africa, a Rhodes Scholar and a doctoral candidate at the University of Oxford. She is already an author of novels. And last but not least, Dr. Rahul Bermejo III, a proud Filipino, and another doctoral candidate at ITM Antwerp. He restores tribal houses and definitely likes rice cakes.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. 大家好. Thank you for allowing us to emerge again in this closing ceremony. We feel greatly honored to represent our fellow emerging voices and share our reflections on the symposium. We started by reflecting, why are we here? Many of us, young researchers, come from diverse backgrounds and careers, but we share the common desire to dedicate ourselves to strengthen health systems of our countries. Although we may disagree on methods, quibble over definitions, we are united by the common belief that the world can and should be a better place, and we can make it possible. I will tell you something about my personal experience. I received medical training, and I was once a doctor in an urban hospital in Western China. It had been my childhood dream to be a doctor, as I wanted to help people in need. However, during my practice, I was frustrated when I saw some patients eventually giving up treatment because they cannot afford expenses. I also noticed that the deteriorating relationship between doctors and patients in my country. I couldn't help but ask, why is there such a big difference between my ideals and the reality? Can I make the change, and how? Fortunately, chances came. I quit my clinical job and I started a career in health system research. It turned out to be the right choice. Now, China is moving towards a welfare state where patients won't be impoverished when seeking care. And in the future, each individual will be entitled to better health and quality care. Every day I see change is indeed possible through research to strengthen the health systems. My story and China's story are certainly not unique. Many of you have chosen this career because you have the same belief that if not us, who? If not now, when? And that's the reason why we are here. Although the journey towards universal health coverage is sometimes very steep, it is certainly one that is possible and worthwhile to strive forwards.
We indeed feel that this symposium is part of that personal and collective journey. As a young researcher, it is easy to feel small in an ocean full of giants in the field. But as I add my voice to those of other young voices, I certainly felt that we were heard. We are also happy that a young voice is represented in the board of Health Systems Global. We appreciate the explosion and mainstreaming of innovative methodologies. We have certainly moved beyond investigating what works and have really dove into the whys and the hows. All these certainly feel like cutting-edge science and research. We thank you for creating space for fresh, raw, young, dynamic ideas to emerge. But we feel that there is room to grow that space, especially for researchers from the South. That space remains narrow. Many of our colleagues still face significant barriers, including those related to mobility and gender. We almost missed one emerging voice because he did not have a transit visa through Europe. I was also in a discussion of female researchers who lament that they often face difficult choices between family and career. Do you remember this photo? This has really been an interesting 3 days. But we observe still many deaths by PowerPoint. There were many long presentations that left very little room for discussion, debate, and exchanges of experience. If there's one good thing about the MDGs, it was their simplicity. Even a child could understand them. Although health systems researchers are keen on complex adaptive systems, we hope that the forceful message of UHC won't be mired with too much complexity. Having said that, we talk the talk about systems, yet if you look at the sessions, we remain in our silos. We also miss the discourse on global health governance. We feel that if we are all serious with universal health coverage, we should also begin looking at new global arrangements to ensure that we attain UHC everywhere and for everyone. We resonate the call to take the leap of faith on universal health coverage. We feel that while we stand on the rigor of our methodology, we should move beyond our comfortable scientific space and take up the discourse of universal health coverage in the social and political spaces. Researchers may not be the best activists, but activism will put moral imperative to our research.
Unlike my friends, Rahul and Shinvi, I wasn't in Montreux in 2010. I was in South Africa, probably on call, in casualty, looking for gloves. I heard about it though. I heard it was great. I heard that universal health coverage were the words on everyone's lips, and that health systems the world over were gearing themselves to this universal goal. So, as I excitedly prepared my abstract and waited anxiously to find out if I would be afforded the opportunity to participate in this meeting of giants, there were some who warned that this universal health coverage thing was just a passing fashion. Perhaps. But then again, we've seen worse fashions, worse trends. And if achieving equitable access to healthcare for all and financial risk protection for all is what is fashionable compared to the fashions we've seen before, it might not be a bad fashion to have. I'll admit, I too had my moments of doubt. I wondered whether this thing would work, whether our communities would thank us if we continue to make promises to them we can't or don't keep. At times, it does seem that the only thing that's universal about our health systems is their injustice, and that coverage only applies to the thick blanket of disillusionment that smothers many of us. So I was a little nervous coming to Beijing, afraid that I would find that the critics were right. It's been 3 weeks now, and one can't help but feel a little giddy. You would be feeling giddy too if you had the privilege of spending 3 weeks with some of our world's most inspiring young researchers. Young people who recognize that the world has changed, that the poles of power are shifting, that emerging economies, like emerging voices, are challenging traditional perspectives, and that if there ever was a time where we should fight and struggle for a fair world and a better world for all of us, that time is now. Like Khadi, who is trying to ensure that the poor and marginalized are given an opportunity to speak for themselves. Like Radhika, who's using innovative mediums to bring together repositories of knowledge. Like Daniel, who's unafraid to speak truth to power. And like Walde, who's ensuring that a young cadre of African researchers are being created at home so that technical expertise can be homegrown. So, as you pack your bags and prepare for, or continue, or perhaps decide to take on the struggle towards universal health coverage, fear not, for there are emerging voices everywhere, in all corners of the world, from as far off as Khayelitsha, working in areas as remote as Drake Bay. So, as long as you continue to support them, collaborate with them, encourage them, make space for them, well, then we might just prove the critics wrong and meet and reach universal health coverage sooner than you think. Thank you.